Welcome to the SWR training. My name is Kim Nielsen, and I have been doing this training for probably over 12 years since the start of CARIS and before. Um, I have been part of forming and developing the curriculum as well as training teachers and co-teachers. So it's my pleasure to be with you for SWR training. We're going to do this in a couple different videos. If you are a new family and listening to this for the first time, you'll want to go through all of the videos. I'm splitting them up so that if you desire to come back and watch one of them for review or refresher or clarification, you can do that without listening to the whole thing again. So hopefully this will serve you well. In this introductory video, we're going to just look through why we do the program, some of the benefits of the program, and then help you get started with what resources that you need. So let's start off with talking about why we do SWR. It's fairly efficient. So the system, the curriculum was developed with a statistician as part of the team, and they looked at scientific data, organizing the most frequently used words and commonly misspelled words in kind of increasingly difficult order. So it's broken up into spelling this A through Z. And as you'll see, that really goes through learning to read and spell, so kindergarten level, all the way through a college level. It provides rationale for spelling, and it integrates language arts and other types of learning. And so I really like that for classical education as well. It's fairly economical. And so when we've looked at other programs, there's a lot of different programs on teaching reading, writing, spelling. When we looked at families and our model, this was really one of the most economical ways to do this. We used the program kindergarten through sixth grade and then continued to dive into the principles in the logic and rhetoric years. And so you will see in the materials, but you buy a core kit and you'll get that when you start the program or first start with us at the school. And then each year you only need to purchase a learning log for each of your children. So the core kit is per family, and then it's just a learning log for each student. It is a very effective way to learn. We've seen this in different reviews that we've done, and teachers who have used this for a number of years and have really seen students' understanding of spelling, but also the reading level greatly improve with the program. And that's been our experience at CARIS as well, that even though sometimes it might take a little bit longer to start, as we'll talk through in a minute, overall, our students do really well with it and end up reading at a higher reading level. This is a quote from an educator while learning and using SWR. She said, "I'm so happy to find a program that makes sense of our language rather than apologizing for it." And that's what I really liked about SWR as well, as really understanding language, the basics of language, how it's used, and the very pieces of language. And the rules and making sense of it instead of just hearing, English is so hard. There's so many different exceptions. And as we'll see, there are exceptions, but there are less exceptions and more sense to why things are the way they are than I had previously thought before doing this program. So what is this SWR all about? It's a phonics-based spelling program, and it's a little different. So instead of learning to read, learning to write, and doing that separately and covering spelling kind of unrelated and in a different avenue and having them divorced from each other. It's really trying to integrate spelling, writing, reading, and along with that, the 4 different pathways of learning. So can we see, hear, say, and write? And so again, that being said, instead of just having primarily a visual, like with reading, it's really trying to pull different things together that we are using kind of all the different systems of learning, different parts of our brains, and different learning pathways in order to gain this knowledge and have a strong foundation. One of the things that I've really liked about the program is that this is the most difficult part of it, is this guided dictation system. But because of this system, students not only just repeat, memorize their spelling list, but they first hear it, they write it, they read it, and then they analyze it. And so it's really taking you at a deeper level as you walk through these steps of the guided dictation system. And although it takes a little bit more time, oftentimes to gain these foundational skills and to really think through these words, think through why they are the way they are, it leads to a deeper comprehension. And then it gives you tools in order to learn other words and figure out other words. And so again, more naturally see words and blend sounds and figure out even the meaning of words. It reinforces using integration with other topics. And this, again, we love to see with classical education, that it's not just a separate subject and we only do it during that, and then we set it aside and we never see it again, but it's integrating things that we're learning in all aspects of the classroom, in life. And so it's not only a phonics, but it also works on penmanship as they write throughout. You will see in a lot of the enrichment activities, it will pull in grammar principles, it pulls in enriching vocabulary, composition, both kind of given sentences and also creative writing. And then there's also some dictionary skills. How do we use the dictionary and look things up? And so that is kind of a lost art in today's world. In addition to that, because it's using analytical skills and really looking at why the words are the way they are, you're going to see your students grow in logic. There's an emphasis on, again, the formation and the pieces of a word. And so you'll see a lot done with roots. And so that's suffixes and prefixes, but also Latin and Greek roots of the words. And so blending in what we're learning in Latin and Greek and giving them that foundation. There's also quite a base of French derivatives and why those words are the way they are. And then all of that, I think, leads to comprehension. So an understanding, not just memorizing is important, but a deeper understanding of why words are the way they are, how they fit together, how to use them, and how to spell them. And I'm sure you have often known people who read at very high levels, but can't spell very well, especially now that we have spell check. But you really don't see the opposite very well. And so again, this comprehension as we focus on spelling to write, reading naturally comes through that. And usually if you have a good speller, you usually have a proficient and accomplished reader as well. This program is going to include, as we'll see, kind of those kindergarten beginning words, and then it really progresses to kind of our upper high school, college level words in, so again, it's structured A to Z. So by the time students get through section or list Z, they will be spelling at a high school, college level. And so again, we'll progress them through kindergarten through sixth grade as they focus on these words. The beauty of this is that it can also incorporate students of differing abilities, both in their starting place and also in learning styles. And so you can always, even if your classroom is on a certain list, if you need to go back to previous lists or to previous steps, phonograms, preliminaries, those kinds of things, you can always go back and really shore those up with you if you have a struggling student or a student who needs a little extra help. At the other end, I know a lot of our kids really love to have bonus or challenge words. And so sometimes our classroom teachers, I would do this at home with my kids too, is just pull one of the words or a couple words from a list in Y or Z or W or something like that, and those would be bonus words, and that can be really fun for different students as well. So what is this all about, and how does this fit with classical education? Why did we choose this curriculum for a classical school? One of the principles we go through with our classroom teachers in the 7 laws of learning or 7 laws of teaching is a principle that you have to start with what is known and take progressive small steps to what is unknown. And so you always connect back to what is known. And that's really the basis of this program, that we're teaching really the small pieces first of those phonograms, the very sounds, and then we're building upon that until we get very complicated words and sentences and how things fit together. But it's this progression, this classical pedagogy of taking what is known and then building in logical progression to what's unknown. The program has a lot of different ways to reinforce in multisensory ways, which I love for different styles of learners. If you have a very active child, sometimes you can do motions and movements. You can use different mediums to practice words. Even in my family, we even sometimes drew in, different scents and things with scented markers and things like that. And so there's lots of things to get hands-on in multisensory. The emphasis, and again, this is a very classical principle, as the emphasis is teaching the principles and the tools for long-term success and not speed. And so oftentimes in our culture, we just want to see kids reading really quickly, and that is success. Right? We don't care what they read or how they're reading. We just want them to read quickly because it looks good. And while there's some kids who read very young, and that can be a really good thing, the emphasis is on teaching the foundation well and teaching tools that a student can use for more and more difficult words and processes. So it's really a formation of the student and of the mind, and not just effective, good results. And long-term. So this principle is called festina lente, is one of the classical principles, and that just means make haste slowly. And so we're trying to do that with this program because we're gonna go deep, and sometimes that means we're gonna slow things down a little bit. But what we've found is once you have this strong foundation, then students really take off, and that clicks at different times and different stages for different students. But we have found that when students go through this program, we have seen this very long-term depth and success. So what are you going to need? You will be getting, if you're a new family, you will be getting a core kit, and that is 1 kit per family. So you will use this core kit for, if you have multiple students in multiple grades, use the same core kit. That will be purchased and then picked up at few. So we've done those for you. They're a little more difficult to find, and so we've done that work for you. In that kit, you will have a brown guide called the WISE Guide, and this is your day-to-day book. This is really your workbook. This is where the spelling lists come in, and so this is what you and your students are going to use most of the time. There is a red, it's called the SWR, and it's a teacher's guide, and so it's got steps. Step one is how to begin. Okay, so it's really the teacher's guide. So most of our teachers are looking through this and know these steps. You as a co-teacher might not use this as often, but you will when we'll get to this, but you'll see you can use this as your learning dictation. If you ever want more information, or if you're doing reference pages or something like that where you're diving in a little deeper, you're going to use this book for that. And then you're going to get some cards. And so the two sets of cards that you're going to get are the phonogram cards. Those are white, and you're going to get this kind of manila tan colored cards that are the spelling rule cards. Now in your kits, they will come in a flat package. And so they'll come in an 8x11 package. And we highly, highly recommend that you cut them and laminate them because again, you're going to use these for each student K through 6. And so you can see mine are very old. I've got 4 kiddos, all high schoolers and college age, but all 4 went through this program. And so mine are pretty beat up. They've been used and well loved. You can do this yourself for not a lot of money, and I would highly recommend. It is probably worth it unless you've got some kids that you want to give a job to. But any office supply store, if you bring those sheets in and just say, hey, can you laminate, cut, and hole punch them, they will do that for you. Most of us really like to have, you don't have to do this, but most of us really like to have a ring that holds our cards. That way you can flip them easily. You can use them. I've used them for games, and I take them apart and put them back together. And so it just makes it very easy to use and keep for lots of years. And so you'll do that with both of these cards. There used to be a CD that came in the core kit. I think it is a separate item, but there is a CD that helps you listen to the phonogram sounds as well, if that is of interest to you. Other things you need, and again, we will be providing these at few as part of your enrollment fee. And so for K through 2nd, your student, and this would be each student, will get a primary learning log. These have a little bit more space in them for writing, writing a little bit bigger, and then appropriate level of reference sheets and what they do. And then our 3rd through 6th graders will get a black learning log. And those, again, it's the same thing, but the spelling lists are a little bit different for smaller writing. And the reference pages are set up a little bit more for older kids. Other things that you are going to use, and again, some of this is on your supply list for school, but you or your student will need 2 pencils, so a regular pencil and then a red pencil, and they'll want those both in classroom and in the satellite classroom as well. So this is going to be part of the dictation system, and we're going to use a red pencil when it comes to that to help us analyze different things. Okay. So those are needed. And then I think what is very helpful is to have, you could use a chalkboard. You can see I really like dry erase boards. And so I've got a couple different dry erase boards in my house. We used a window as our dry erase board. So I could write, I'm just in my living room or my kitchen table, and so my kids would sit at the table, and then I could stand up and write on this dry erase board, or we also sometimes you can get these, especially at the start of school, just a little dry erase board that we could sit and have at the table with us and write on. And these you can get Target or a dollar store, maybe even things like that. And again, I've loved this one. And then I like to have a black and a red dry erase marker. Dictionary, again, we'll have these in our classrooms. Sometimes the dictionary skills and enrichments that they do are optional and things that you do in the classroom. It's always great to have a good dictionary in your satellite classroom, as well as lots and lots of living books. And so again, we don't want you to necessarily just set SWR aside and that's spelling, but this is a part of how we learn to read and how we love learning to read. And so get some great living books, and as you're finding words from your spelling list, that's a great way to do that. So that's it for this video. Our next video, as you can see, we will talk about the phonograms and the spelling rules. So I will catch you in that video. Thank you.